Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a few different stories that I've been wanting to cover for a while, but I just didn't know how to incorporate them into the recent videos, seeing as we've been looking at the leadership race, the tariff situation, and more so like the US-Canada relations. However, to me, these videos can't keep getting ignored. It just shows how broken Canada currently is. And if you ask any liberal, they'll tell you that it's not broken, that this is just a talking point by Pierre Poilievre. Even Mark Carney said this the other day at his leadership announcement.
No, it's not the time for lifelong politicians such as Pierre Poilievre. Politicians with bad ideas, naive and dangerous ideas. And I think the worst, his worst, is that Canada is broken. Canada is broken was one of Pierre Poilievre's many three-word slogans, and it couldn't be more dangerous.
Now, I will obviously say that we are not at third world status, but with these stories that you're going to be seeing, it seems like we're getting closer and closer to this every day. And a lot of these stories are from last week to this week, but the narrative is no different from a few months ago, if not a few years ago. So without further ado, we'll get into the first story. You'll even see the reporter talk about how broken the system is, and he just looks astonished throughout this whole situation. Take a look.
Okay, now let's turn to another one of our top stories. One person is in custody after a crash downtown last night involving several police cruisers.
Footage obtained by CP24 showing the moment that a white Hummer slammed into police cruisers as the driver attempted to evade arrest at Richmond and George Streets around 10:15 last night. The suspect was ultimately boxed in by police and was arrested. He has now been identified as 32-year-old George Sue. Police say Sue was put out on bail at the time of his arrest and has more than 70 prior criminal convictions.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan joins us live now from Richmond and George, which is where that happened last night, with more on the crash and what police are saying about the suspect. So, Steve, what do we know so far?
Well, Lindsay and Beatrice, if the allegations against this 32-year-old are true, this guy is the poster child for everything that is wrong with our bail system. So this happened just after 10 o'clock last night. Several Toronto police cars boxed in this stolen vehicle in an attempt to contain it. Now, this man who's out on a bail for having a stolen car, he's got 75 convictions, was desperately trying to get away. He drove that Humvee that he was in the stolen car over the hood of a police car trying to get away. And this is what I talk about all the time when you talk about the failures in our bail system. It causes a great deal of danger for police officers who are going to arrest somebody who's committing a criminal offense and out on a bail or two or three, because all that stands between that bad person, that bad guy, and his freedom is getting away from the cops. So had this guy gone away from the police, you can imagine the carnage that could have been caused on these city streets as this car tried to flee. So it was some very good police work by the Toronto police as they managed to arrest this guy. Nobody was injured, and he's been facing charges such as dangerous driving, fail to stop for police, driving while under suspension, failing to comply with recognizance because he was out on a bail, and the possession of stolen property and property obtained by crime. Many serious criminal charges, and it's all as a result of this guy getting a third and fourth chance out on the streets after being convicted of 75 criminal offenses and being arrested for the possession of a stolen vehicle. He was out stealing another car. In 30 years of policing, guys, I have seen a lot of criminal records, but I have not seen a criminal record when somebody has 75 convictions on their rap sheet. It's incredible and dangerous. I'll send it back to you guys.
75 prior convictions. Like, is it really worth allowing this guy to constantly get bail and just get put back into the street when he's causing this much chaos and havoc? Just lock him up for good, throw away the key, forget about him. He's proven time and time again he's not worth it. He does not care about his life. He doesn't care about anybody else's life. So why do you keep allowing him to get out? Oh yeah, because of the broken system, as even the reporter stated. But if you were to say this to the Liberals, they would blame it on the provincial powers. They would say, oh, this has nothing to do with the federal government. Or if you were Trudeau, you would say Canada's not broken.
But when he says that Canada is broken, that's where we draw the line. Canada is not broken.
Now, as we move on to the next few videos, these happened starting yesterday, a few days prior to that, and late last week as well, all revolving the same kind of smash and grabs at these jewelry stores. And it's happening across Canada. Nobody's doing anything. These are happening in the malls. We saw this a few months ago, or at least a month ago. A lot of reports happening in Fairview. I think some happened in Vancouver. There was these ones are coming from the Niagara region. Just take a look at this stuff for yourself.
We're going to tell you about another brazen daylight jewelry store robbery in our area. It happened in Grimsby. It was scary, destructive, and caught on camera.
On Saturday afternoon, just before 4, 6 suspects approached the entry of Harmony Jewelers on Main Street in Grimsby, armed with sledgehammers. Once they gained entry, the suspects used them to smash several display cases and grabbed the jewelry inside. We spoke with the owner, who says both staff and customers were inside at the time of the robbery, but got to safety quickly. While no one was hurt physically, staff were shaken after this traumatic event.
It was a frightening and tense afternoon for shoppers at a Scarborough mall after witnesses say they saw masked suspects armed with hammers storm a jewelry store in broad daylight. Just the latest in a growing wave of smash and grab crimes rocking the GTA. A jewelry kiosk cordoned off by police. A shattered glass seen on the floor with spectators looking on, stunned by what they just witnessed.
There was a bang bang noise outside, and I look into that and I see 5 or 6 maybe. They head to a cupboard.
Police say around 3:30 Tuesday afternoon, they responded to reports of a robbery at the Golden Mile Mall near Victoria Park Avenue and Eglinton Avenue East. Authorities say a group of suspects armed with hammers entered the mall and smashed the glass display cases, making off with several items. This robbery is part of an alarming uptick in smash and grab heists targeting jewelry stores across the GTA. And for the Daniel Jewelry Kiosk, witnesses say it's not the first time they've been hit.
It happened, this is the second time I saw that. Last month it was something like that, before the Christmas, and this is the second time in the same store and the same way.
Around 7:30 Tuesday night, thieves attempted to breach Jeanette Jewelers in Mississauga, taking an angle around the metal security posts and ramming a vehicle into the storefront.
My back was leaning towards that wall. The lady, the customer, just finished work and she was leaving. She just came here, was going to grab the door, and the car hit us so badly that everything moved forward.
The vehicle backed up to hit the store 2 more times as thieves raced to enter, but just as quickly fled once smoke filled the store, a security measure in the event of a robbery. The store had its grand opening just 5 weeks prior.
I don't know how we are going to survive in this country without the business. Like this way, all the jewelry stores will close one day, very soon. I was able to protect yesterday because I was mentally prepared that this will come to me one day.
The sound of hammers smashing glass display cases has become all too familiar in the GTA. In Peel, there were 41 incidents last year, up from just 10 in 2023. A few units down from Jeanette Jewelers, Misk Jewelry has beefed up security measures.
Hello, who are you?
No sunglasses, masks, hats, or hoodies allowed, and for us, ID prior to entry. In late November, thieves ransacked the store, making off with $200,000 worth of diamonds in just 25 seconds. The store owner's son was inside and says after, police weren't much help.
And I was shaking, I was just broken down. And then he was just, don't worry, man. They were laughing and they were like, don't worry, man. You know, it's the insurance will cover everything. I was like, man, what insurance? We don't even have insurance. You know, insurance companies don't even offer that no more to new jewelry stores because it's happening so often, the robberies.
Hamza Kamil says the number of incidents has risen because criminals aren't punished enough.
You see there is no consequences to your actions and you can just break in, make money, and it's just so easy. Of course, you're going to come back again and do it.
You'd be a fool not to think that people are seeing the increased trend and getting ideas, right?
Officer Tyler Bell says they're concerned about the rise in jewelry store robberies and that many arrests are made after the fact, sometimes months later.
Many of the people that we arrest are folks that are already on release for prior offenses, so they're not seeing the deterrent that we're hoping from the judicial system, and so they're going out and they're putting themselves in those positions again.
Well, isn't that interesting? More calls for bail reform, more calls saying that the system is broken. Yet, if you ask Trudeau, he says Canada's not broken.
I don't see a Canada that's broken.
Now, unfortunately, the last set of videos that I'm going to leave you guys with are a little bit more depressing in my opinion. These have to do with the state of the homeless population. Now, there's some sort of silver linings where people are able to get some sort of housing or shelter, I should say, but we don't need these. Like, to have this many little pop-up homes, as you're going to see, it's not the solution. We need to get people off the streets, period. We need to be making things affordable again. The economy, these rent evictions that are happening to all these people, like, it is unsustainable. You can't even be a single income household anymore. Two people need to be working. And even then, a lot of the times, it's not even enough to make ends meet. You got to do side jobs, maybe pick up a part-time thing, maybe sell some stuff on Etsy. Other aspects you need to do just to accommodate that kind of basic lifestyle. But just last week, there was a huge report about the increase in homelessness. And check out all of these encampments and all of these like pop-up shelters.
This is one of the 2 new shelter villages now welcoming some of the nearly 1,200 people who are homeless in the Halifax area. It's a chance at a new life for people like Jenny Fisher, who was living in an encampment.
It's wonderful. I love it. I actually, I've been waiting a long time to get back into something that's, feels like a home. And I finally did do that today.
She can't quite believe she now has a safe and warm place with a door that locks after what she went through when her rent got higher than she could afford. At first, she lived in a makeshift hut before all she had was a tent.
It was tough at first. I got used to it. Then it just became difficult again because when the huts were gone, then it wasn't as warm. And so that wasn't fun.
She's one of about 20 people moving into the village this week, with more at the other in Halifax. People are being chosen through referrals from outreach teams, and the HRM list tracking the number of people who are without a home.
All over HRM, people are living in the woods, living in encampments. People are getting rental evicted almost every day. People are coming here with frostbite on their feet.
This is one of the units that's ready for somebody to move in. Each of them has a bed, there's a desk right here, there's heat, air conditioning, and also an area for storage.
We're giving people a chance at hope. I've been told twice this week already that this is the most hope that they've had in probably months, if not maybe years.
The new residents have access to shared washrooms and showers. 2 hot meals a day are provided, as well as snacks. The building, which will have a kitchen, dining room, and access to computers, is still being finished. It's a brand new community for people who've survived through miserable living conditions.
It's like moving into my own little private space.
In total, there are 85 units between the new Dartmouth and Halifax shelter villages.
So right there's Halifax. 2 different shelter villages they had to create in little old Halifax just to accommodate the rise in homeless people or rent evictions. But as we move to Edmonton now, you're going to see that these are the kind of encampments that some of the people need to go the lengths to do just to be able to survive and stay warm.
So we found an encampment over here. It was in relation to a dog track for a commercial B&E that was close. We're between 34th and 17th Street, about 60th Ave. And also it's close to a number of commercial areas, which I know that there have been a number of commercial break-and-enters and property stolen from these areas as well. It's very well tucked in, and especially the way they have the tree cover, and again, being built into the hill, it doesn't stand out. We'll just say it blends in very well.
How many structures on this site?
3. Very large, very elaborate. They do have a solar panel that's built into the structure. There was a number of fire pits that were within the structure as well as without it, or outside of it. Yeah, a room just off the main entrance there, our main room. There was a fire here, it's a cooking area, I would imagine. And a window, absolutely, and cupboard, countertop area. It must be some sort of patio area, I would imagine. They've got a sectional couch here, another fire area. The next structure, not quite as elaborate as the other one, but as you can see, they've used plywood and 2x4s for their roof and shelter, again, burrowed into the hill. I believe this was their water supply when it was not frozen. This is a creek that runs through the area. I don't know if it's runoff or what it would come from. I don't believe they're one-offs. I believe as we're finding that there's property crime within an area, if we're able to get a successful track, we'll likely locate additional camps like this.
Like, just look at the lengths that people are going to just to be able to survive. They're willing to make fires inside their encampments where the smoke is not good for you, but you have the risk of burning the place down. And if we move back to Toronto, as we're just about to do, this next clip, this woman admits to burning down 2 tents before she got this new little structure that this gentleman made and gave to her.
Tara Soller spent 3 years on the street before becoming the first person to move into one of these tiny homes just over a month ago.
I've slept in outdoor stairwells, like in sleeping bags. You know what I mean? It's been hard.
She tells us she burned down 2 tents in the past, trying to keep warm by starting fires using hand sanitizer. But her way out of the cold didn't come from a shelter or the city. It was wheeled in by a guy named Ryan Donay, who says the tiny homes should have never been built in the first place.
It's so easy and so cheap to house people. We just don't want to do it. I don't know why we don't want to, but we could house people.
He started building the tiny homes this summer, taking inspiration from Khalil Seavright, who built wooden shelters during the pandemic until the city removed them, claiming they were a fire hazard. But Donay tells us these tiny homes have features built in, with the hopes to avoid city backlash.
You can move them. They're very, very, very mobile. There is a lot of safety features built in. There's a fire extinguisher. There is a smoke and carbon monoxide detector. And I think the biggest safety feature is it has heat. If you don't have heat, you create heat with fire.
City workers dropped by as we were visiting and left without raising alarms. Donay gave us a tour.
All right, so let me show you around inside a little bit. Under the bed, you got lots of storage here.
The small unit comes with the basics, like a bed, storage space, and a sink. It has a fan for the summer, heating for the winter, and a lockable door.
I can lock my door. I sleep every night. You know, I never had clothes that I got to wear twice. I got to do my laundry the other day and wear my clothes the second time. So those are big things, you know. I felt grateful but guilty that I have heat and all these people around me don't, and I can't fit everybody in here.
Donay built 3 tiny homes so far, spending $5,000 of his own money on the first prototype. The rest comes from private donations, and the city hasn't chipped in yet.
I hope to have a partnership where they can supply some land and maybe supply some funding. But mainly supply some land because we need to get our parks back.
The City of Toronto committed to creating over 1,000 modular homes, with 216 built so far. Different municipalities across Ontario are also giving tiny shelters a try as a way to address the housing crisis. Peterborough started a modular housing community filled with cabins in the site of a former parking lot. Waterloo also has a tiny home shelter run by the region that opened last year. Meanwhile, Hamilton is expected to open the city's first outdoor shelter filled with tiny homes next month, after some delays. But as much as tiny homes can help the housing crisis, Soller tells us they're not the solution.
It's really just a temporary until we get into permanent housing, you know, because shelters is not permanent.
Yeah, that's definitely one way of putting it, but like, just take a look at how ridiculous this is. We're following her story in Toronto. Then they talk about Peterborough has a shelter city thing happening. Waterloo. Hamilton's going to be potentially having one built. Like, these are all GTA areas in Ontario, but from the previous videos, these are happening in Edmonton. It's happening in Halifax. It's happening all across Canada. But these guys keep talking about how the country's not broken. Nothing is broken. And we haven't even gotten to the statistics of all the crime rates gone up, the chaos and everything, or this recent video from CBC on the food bank situation. I might save that for another video because this one's getting a little bit long, but it's just mind-blowing that they can't see what they've done to the country, and they keep trying to gaslight people and saying nothing's broken. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below. I know it's a bit of a different video, but I hope you did enjoy it. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.